There's something about the energy of going from one session to the next digitally, but knowing that there's, hundreds of people with you that are kind of doing that at the same time. So I think having that connection virtually is making this a little bit more of a community-based, grassroots endeavor.
Treat mental health as the priority that it is, right? So think about your life as having 100 points, right? That's your bandwidth. And within those 100 points, that's what helps you design, hang out with friends, keep relationships, cook, and do all the mundane things in life. But when something tragic happens in your life, whether you lose a loved one, you get laid off, or you get out of a relationship, so that's not normal to your system. So 90% of those points go towards focusing on solving that particular problem. So you're only left with 10% to do everything that you're normally doing, in addition to this huge tragedy that you're facing. So what starts happening is that you aren't as creative as you normally would be. You aren't responding to as many texts from friends. And you're going through a lot at that point. But we live in a society that has conditioned us to follow the Rihanna lyrics of work, 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 without really taking time that we so desperately need when we're going through a tragic experience.
Between all of the different speakers, while I'm watching them, I'm able to go to several of their different social media accounts, see what they're talking about in real time. I'm able to connect with the other attendees multiple times a day through multiple platforms. I have grown more this week professionally than I have in several years.
I feel like the first couple of days were great. Everything was awesome. Hearing everybody's stories. Nobody really talks about those things in the workplace or anything, but this is a community where they really talk about how you got there, what you thought about when all the different opportunities arose and stuff. So I thought that those stories were pretty life-changing.
There's this opportunity to make a big leap from your zone of excellence to your zone of genius. And your zone of genius represents that work that it uniquely uses or allows you to use the things that you're best suited to do. So you start to lean into your special talents and your strengths and your experience and those things that, maybe don't necessarily fit into the box that you're in a corporate job, but can be fully expressed outside of that. And this is a leap that not many people make because it's hard. It takes hustle, it takes grit. It I think requires you to be smart and make smart decisions, which is the point of this workshop. And the zone of genius, to me, I remember reading in the book, the definition of the zone of genius was to do the work you're born to do. And so I think Michael Rasik is a great representation of that. He's doing the work he was born to do in so many ways. And so that's really the underlying premise of, my idea of escaping corporate and getting into work that you were born to do and is a better fit for you.
I think the good thing about this path that Young Architect is leading is that it's not the old gentleman's club that it used to be, that it's a diverse group of passionate people who have real dreams and visions for how they can use architecture to do better around them.
These are people who are wanting to pivot their career. These are people who have drive and setbacks and all the things, and we can all connect through that. And I think that's what Mike brings to the table. Like he brings, I think they quoted him as someone being disruptive of the industry, and I absolutely believe that. Like the word disruptive for me, that means like you are wanting to make sure that you create a voice for everyone here because there's more than one voice to be heard.
A big thing for me is I always like to make sure that the lighting source is actually modeled, which currently this is again an SD model, so I don't have them, but I always try to make sure that the fixture is actually modeled in Revit, and so that you can sort of see where the light source is coming from. But Lumion has the quick and easy light effects. They give you a bunch of different lamp options. They also give you omni lights, which are just sort of overall light fills, which is really great if you're just trying to fill a room with light. They just do it, which won't show the source. It won't cause a hot spot, but what it will do is just overall give your room a bit more glow, and it will cast shadows into corners, which is really helpful. They have area lights, so if you actually have strip lights somewhere, you can actually add a really pretty realistic strip light. So you can see, like, if you were trying to put a long light over across a picture frame, that it's really simple to do in here.
One of the most valuable things that I learned is that I'm not alone, and I'll never be alone, because I have this group of people that have my back and that will support my decisions, like when it's in my best interest, So I think that, like sometimes you just gotta take the leap and do things.
This is a mock-up of another building on campus, about a quarter mile away from that one. And this one's about 12 years old or so, but you can see a little bit more clearly what's going on. This one's CMU, so the enclosure, instead of exterior gypsum wall, the enclosure is the CMU wall, and it also serves as a structure of that particular building. And then outboard of that, you see we have the insulation. And outboard of that, we have the airspace, which is maintained by this mesh material that keeps the mortar from seeping in. You can see in the precast concrete portion down below, it's just an airspace. There's no need for the mesh because there's not as much mortar. And then outboard of that is the stone. So we have the rain coming down like this. And we have some of the rain coming through and coming down and out. And then what's left hits here and goes down and out as well. So here's an airspace, here's that airspace where the water goes down, any that gets in, and it goes out a weep hole, or a series of weep holes. And here's the insulation, here's the structure and enclosure.
Young Architect Summer Series, it's top notch. And the motivation behind it all, and the people that are involved with it, and the whole team that curates it, it is beyond a doubt something that can definitely be an example to set, or a bar to set for the rest of the profession.
The complete diversity, not only in topics that were discussed, but in people presenting those topics, was absolutely amazing. I've never seen that before in a conference. The Young Architect Summer Series was just like everything anybody could need, especially if you're a young architect in the industry right now.
We are here today to acknowledge the sacrifice and commitment of our recently licensed architects from the A.R.E Bootcamp and the Young Architect Conference community. I'd like to say thank you to your spouse, your partner, your children, your family, and your pets, who all supported you with becoming a licensed architect. I'd like to say thank you to your architecture school, all your professors, and everyone you went to architecture school with. I'd like to say thank you to every project, every client, and every one of your coworkers up to this point in your career. I'd like to say thank you to all the naysayers. I'd like to say thank you to the people who told you you're wasting your time becoming a licensed architect and you should just take an easier route with your career. Often when we encounter these naysayers in the middle of your journey, we mislabel them as barriers, nuisances, and even haters, when in fact, they are not those things. They were merely just obstacles. And figuring out how to navigate around these obstacles has played a part of your journey. No one has ever become a licensed architect without being challenged or pushed outside their comfort zone. And what most people do not realize is that becoming an architect isn't about memorizing a bunch of books and passing a bunch of silly tests. Becoming an architect is everything about being resilient, dedicated, and committed to finishing what you have started. That's what this is really about.
It's the sum of all parts. Honestly, it's been some great panelists here. It's been some deep, right? And some technical subject matter, that'll blow you away. But then at the same time, you have the attendees, right? You have the chat going on during the panelists, during the presentation that's been hilarious, but also supportive, and engaging. And then you have like the networking event with Marley. So it's like, it's I can't pick this and this and this. It's all of it. It's the total sum.